everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We're back again with one of our InfoSec girls meetup, and here we are not going to do a traditional talk, but here we're going to be talking about much more than that. But before I will start off, I want to bring in my friend Manmeet, who is going to be with me today. Hi, Manmeet.
Hi, Vandana.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What the session is all about. When we talk about marketing, branding, once upon a time, branding was very simple. Pick a logo, choose a font, and hope no one refreshed your website at the wrong time. Today, your brand is being judged in real time by your chatbot's answers, your response during a crisis, and sometimes the tweet that you do it at random hours, or maybe by someone who definitely said that I'll post one thing. But when we just talk about companies who are trying to figure out that how these marketing tactics are going to work out, AI showed up and rewrote the whole rules. Let me tell you, I use AI day in and day out, even for my own website. So, thanks everyone for joining in today. And today's conversation is about something every organization thinks that they have mastered, but very few truly understand: brand. Because today when we talk about branding, it isn't just what you say is your campaigns, it's about your system, do actually when no one is watching. And joining me today is someone who lives that intersection of all of this: strategy, storytelling, reputation, and reality. Manmeet Randhawa, with experience across brand strategy, corporate communication, CSR, public policy, strategic alliances, which basically means when things are not going great or things are going great, Manmeet makes sure that everything is looking good at all times. And when things are going wrong, she's the person you wish you had called much more earlier. And Manmeet, welcome to the show. I have a feeling that this is going to be equal parts insightful.
Thank you so much, Vandana. Happy to be here. And I have to say that introduction makes me sound much more calmer than probably I am during an actual crisis. But I'm excited for this conversation because brand is one of those words everybody uses very confidently, but very few define it correctly, and especially in this tech space, because as you said correctly, people still live in those what do you call ideology that brand is just logos, taglines, and campaigns, and some marketing activity here and there, but it's not the case. So lovely to be here. So let's have the conversation started. I hope I am able to do justice to all the questions that you ask.
I am sure, because we have had so many conversations at different avenues, whether it's in different parts of the country. So I'm sure people have a lot to learn from you around this area.
I just hope I can do some good job here. That's all.
Manmeet, you actually started off with brand, and you specifically said that people still don't understand. So, for my understanding, is brand still about storytelling, or is it now about damage control with better lighting? And in a world where AI can generate a full campaign in 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds, is creativity evolving, or just outsourcing itself? What this brand strategy is all about, a brand is all about in this era. And you mentioned about the tech space, and now we are in cyber security space. So a lot of people want to understand that, or I would say that for me, cyber security was just about breaking things. But after meeting you, I realized that it's much more than that. Even when you are working on around the brand, you're actually dealing with cyber security. So I want to understand more from you.
See, brand is still about storytelling, Vandana. And only thing is that now your story gets audited in real time. Okay. So anything and everything your brand does, the kind of comments going from your leadership, or even a small tweet can go wrong. So you are being audited in real time. But brand is still revolving around storytelling. Like, say for example, earlier brands could survive on aspiration. Okay, you could make a beautiful ad, write an emotional tagline, buy enough media, and hope nobody looked too closely at the customer experience. But that era is over. Okay. So today your brand is not what you say in campaign. Okay, it is more about what people experience in your product, or how's your customer support treating your customers, your hiring choices, your crisis response. And if, say, you said about cybersecurity, right? If a breach happens, or how silent we are and how we are addressing those kind of things, how we are managing reputation, crisis management. So all of those things have come into play. So storytelling is still the core of brand, but now it has to survive, with the reality. And it is just not limited to a good storyline or a good advertisement. We have to see a lot of other things. Now, you mentioned about AI, right? Now, AI is making things even more interesting because it has made content very cheap, right? Like, if, say, I have to create a website, I can just give AI chat bots like Chat GPT or a couple of other portals that we have now. So I can just generate 10 campaign ideas. I can generate 50 captions. I can generate a very, say, glossy visual in minutes, right? But brand was just never about content only. Brand is about taste, brand is about timing, brand is about knowing what not to say, when everybody else is rushing towards one particular thing. Now, you would, I think, agree with me here that, say, in last 2 years or so, not this year, but at least say if you go back a year behind, uh, all the conversations everywhere were about AI and machine learning, correct? So even if you were going to events, or even if you were, kind of meeting people or going for panel discussions, all the conversations just revolved around AI and ML. So even the people, those who had no clue about AI and ML, right, they were also talking about the same thing. But that doesn't help you in any which way, correct? So at the same time, I feel AI can help you move a bit faster, but it cannot tell you who you are, how you want your product to be, portrayed in front of your customers, your potential clients. So you can't. I mean, it cannot generate originality. It can mimic a tone, but it cannot build conviction. So AI can generate language, but it cannot build trust. So that is where brand comes into picture. And yeah, AI can make content easily available for you, but it can't bring in emotions. It can't bring in other things. So I feel that is where the real differentiator kind of comes in.
Yeah, and especially when you talk about brand strategy, there's another point that comes to my mind is the crisis management, and
Yeah.
you've handled those corporate communications. So tell me what actually saves a brand in a crisis, because from the outside it looks like companies follow a standard playbook, or they have their own strategies and agendas, but then um, people take it very seriously, as you said, that it's not just about one thing. There are multiple aspects associated with it. So what's
Right.
your take on that?
See, just to even say this thing, the brand is in crisis is like a very, very scary statement, right? But what actually saves a brand is the credible behavior. Okay, so if there's a strategy in play, it is primarily the credible behavior of the organization. Now, say, for example, in real crisis, what do you think people want? Let me ask you, like, in a real crisis, what do you think people really want? What will be your take on that? What comes
I
to your
think
mind?
when there is a crisis, they want to come out of it. But then make sure their business keeps running. That's the utmost priority. You
Hmm.
can't just say that, oh, there is a problem and we'll shut down everything. That's never an option. So
Yeah.
business should keep running. And if something
Hmm.
goes down, that should be working ASAP, like
But
as
this
soon
is
as possible.
customer, but this is from a customer perspective. I'm asking you that in a real-time crisis, what do you think your customer would want out of you?
Just tell the truth, that what's happening, and if I am impacted, that tell me what do I need to do next.
So it is just about four things. Okay, one is, do you understand what happened, right? Do you care about the people affected, and what are you doing right now, and when will we hear from you again? Okay, so primarily in a real crisis, people just want assurance, and they want these questions answered. Now the thing is that problem is that many organizations communicate like lawyers are driving and humans are tied up in the trunk. Okay, because everything becomes cold, or it becomes delayed, vague, or overly sanitized, right? And that makes crisis even worse. So what we feel is that, sometimes withholding information, or delaying the whole process of communication or communicating, it doesn't make communication in your favor. It makes crisis worse. So the main thing is that the playbook says that your audience can spot it, what is going wrong, what is not going in favor. So, what actually saves a brand in terms of crisis management is a moment when the brand stops being a presentation, all right, and it becomes a character. So, you find out very quickly whether the company values transparency, accountability, leadership, or whether those were just words sitting very nicely, right? So, the brands that recover well are the ones, those who do these things right. Like they respond early, they sound human, they take proportionate responsibility, right? That they accept that, okay, fine, this happened, things went wrong, and we are rectifying it, and we will get things back. So they continue communicating, even when the news cycle becomes a little uncomfortable, right? Because when you go completely silent, it creates a kind of vacuum, and nobody is happy with vacuum, because then you start speculating, and then things just go for a toss. So even in crisis, I feel people forgive mistakes faster than they forgive arrogance, or they forgive no communication or lack of honesty. So if a company is honest, visible, accountable, people will stay with them. But if it looks that the company is being a bit self protective or evasive, or things are scripted, in terms of communication, then the reputation damage goes even deeper.
I agree to it. Manmeet, there is one thing that you brought into it about the brand protection. So let's talk about the tension between this brand and cybersecurity. Because every company wants to look seamless, secure, and trustworthy, that yes, everything is right. But behind the scenes, security teams are often dealing with incidents. There are issues and constant risks which are there. So, how should organizations balance this transparency with reputation without either scarring the customers or misleading them at the same time? Because when we talk about the era,
Yeah.
we are already, I generally say we are entering, but I feel we've already entered an era which is of deep fakes, synthetic media, AI generated voices, where
Yeah.
even seeing and hearing something isn't enough to trust it. So how
Hmm.
should brand prepare for a future where authenticity itself can't be faked? Like, how
See,
should people work on
see,
that, or organization work on that?
See, whenever but anyone, be it an organization or a human being, I would say, if you're trying really hard to control the narrative, you can never build credibility, right? So first you have to build credibility. You have to have that kind of an attachment wherein the customers feel connected to you. So, just a cybersecurity, where I'll tell you, uh, the most difficult thing in cybersecurity, okay, or in the security space is what? To make your trust visible. How we keep talking about zero trust, right? Her communication, every communication that we have, we talk about zero trust. How do you make that trust visible, right?
Hmm.
You, as a human being, okay, if say you and I are friends,
Hmm.
and you don't feel that you can trust me, how
Right.
can I go talking about, oh, I'm so trustworthy, I'm so trustworthy? I can keep talking about it for like,
Yeah.
end of times, and I can keep looking at you and messaging you, oh, you can trust me, you can trust me, you can trust me. But what am I doing to build that trust?
Yeah, and I have to tell you that I go on a tangent where I say that never trust, always verify. So even if you're my friend, I will always verify that.
So that's what I'm saying. So how are you verifying that? Even going by the statement that you just made, that you'll verify, you won't go trust blindly. Correct. I am sitting here. I'm communicating with you as a PR person. I'm communicating with you. I'm putting out all the campaigns to say zero trust. We are very trustworthy. Please, hello. But what is there to support it? I have to be credible. I have to be dependable. I have to be consistent in my efforts, right? So that Vandana says that, okay, fine, Manmeet is trustworthy. I can trust. There's trust factor involved. There is some credibility involved. It takes time. It takes years and years and years of consistent effort. But at the same time, one small mistake from my side or one of my senior leadership just has a bad day and writes a tweet, Vandana's trust is gone. Correct? So it is a very what do you call, there's a very thin line, all right, to answer the question that you were asking me. It is a consistent, credible effort that goes into it, and a transparency has to be maintained, right? And at the same time, if you start controlling narrative in and out, it won't work. Now, when I talk about deep fakes, all right. Now, if say something comes out, there are n number of AI tools now which can help you figure out what is fake and what is true. Now, in terms of misinformation, right, in terms of the kind of content which is being played out, if say my customers don't have faith, if my audience doesn't have faith, and I have not built that credible audience over a period of time, one wrong thing comes, nobody would even think twice before believing it. But if I'm credible, but if I have built that reputation over a period of time, right? Even if something comes out, at least my audience is going to put the thought in that, okay, fine, this needs to be verified, right? So even if I'm trustworthy, even if somebody wants to verify, right, I need to be that credible. Correct, Vandana? So even as a friend, if you want to verify, I need to have that credibility that Vandana thinks that as a friend, I know this can't be true. I need to verify before I go blindly trusting it. Got the answer? You're on mute, can't hear you.
I have a habit of keeping on mute. Yeah, so that I don't
Yeah.
make noise. Yeah. So I
Uh,
agree. I think,
I've
yeah,
tried,
the trust.
I've tried to explain it in a very, very layman way, right,
Yeah.
for your question. I hope I've done justice to it. I'm not too sure if it made
Oh,
sense, but
made
yeah.
sense, because I think the trust factor has to be there, and then the whole industry is going on trust, except when we talk from a technical perspective. But yes, without trust nothing is possible, not even the customer, not even the reputation, nothing else is possible. Yeah.
So in
uh,
brand, you can create a brand overnight, but to build it to a level where people trust you, it takes years.
yeah,
And you have to be very careful with what communication goes out, because it will just take one small move to pull it down.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to pivot to a different thing altogether, because you worked in public policy too. I remember you telling me, which basically mean you've seen how decisions are actually made, how much of a brand today is about influence and how much is just about good storytelling. So tell me about your experience with the policy creations, and then especially around the public policy creation. I want to understand that story part of it.
The public policy teaches you very quickly that reputation is not just market facing asset. Okay, it is an institutional asset. So it affects whether regulators trust your intent, whether stakeholders take your engagement seriously, whether government sees you as a constructive individual or an organization or an opportunistic organization. and whether your voice has weight in the rooms where outcomes are shaped. So, good storytelling can get you attention, but influence is what gets you access, and those are not the same thing. So, in policy, it's a different ball game altogether, and influence plays a serious role in it. So in reality, in policy side of it, what I have experienced is that serious brand and good influence work together, and they are built together. So yeah, so storytelling matters, but without credibility it is just a polished noise. So even say the strongest of the organization, they understand that brand is not only about visibility. So it is about, say, legitimacy, right? It's about whether your narrative is backed by conduct, and whether your positions are consistent, whether your engagement is informed, whether you show up before the crisis and not after it. Because usually what happens is that we, uh, you know, like in terms of crisis, we always work after the crisis has happened. Our approach is not crisis aversion. Our approach has been crisis management. So those kind of things are looked into it, right? And influence does not come from being loud, it comes from being reliable, trustworthy, and transparent. So that has been a real shift actually. So earlier, I think the brand was often treated as external packaging, but in after working in policy, policy side of it, I've realized that it is deeply tied to your trust architecture with customers, government, communities, investors, even employees. Okay, we often don't consider that aspect, but even employees. So yeah, so like storytelling may open the door, but it is the credibility uh, and the influence which will get you a seat there.
Yeah. And you mentioned about communities around these things, like you have to have those partnerships, and you
Yeah.
built those strategic alliances as well. And while we know that it's about people call it as, and it's not me quoting, I've heard people saying that when we talk about strategic alliances, it's basically like corporate dating, and it's not my words, it's there on the
No,
internet everywhere. So
what? It is called what?
corporate dating,
Okay.
about uh, two organizations working together. So, and everything looks great, but then you have those alignment expectations, and then you're discussing about emails and what actually makes this partnership work for a long term. So what's your experience with strategic alliances and especially if I have to come back, we've been working together also for some of
Oh,
the avenues, right? Whether
yeah.
it's OWASP Pacific Days or a bunch of other things. So this
Yeah.
strategic alliances is something which is tricky, but I want to understand, how does that play a role in brand?
You forgot we need to talk on the emails. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, we
yes,
need to talk, right? So,
yeah.
see, the analogy is painfully accurate. Okay, no denying that, because most of the partnerships don't begin with chemistry, right? They begin with chemistry and collapse on logistics. That is what I feel. It is more like how you said corporate dating, right? So, what makes alliances work long term is not the excitement of the partnership, right? It is more to do with alignment under pressure. So, at the beginning, everybody is so enthusiastic. Okay, everybody will see, yeah, there's a synergy and it's a win-win, and it's a great partnership and all of that. But the real strategic alliance or a partnership is that once your partnership is done, how are your logistics functioning, timelines slip to nahi ho rahi hai, leadership changes, market shifts, right? And the effort that required to become a successful deck launch or whatever it is, right? Whatever the project is, that is what is going to build it. So I can go to anybody, right? And I can get a project, I can source a project, or I could win the bid. But how I deliver it, how is my communication after getting the project, how am I communicating with my vendors and everybody else? All of those things come into play, and that is when you find out whether the partnership was strategic or it was just a how do I put it, well dressed optimism. Okay, so the alliances that usually last get few fundamental things right very early. So they're clear on why they're partnering, clear on value, right? Both sides should get clear value, clear deliverables, and roles should be clear. Decision making, governance, okay, those aspects should be very clear as to who's responsible for what. And then ownership and accountability also has to come. So all of these things put together are going to tell you whether your success matrix are in line or not. And most important thing is that how honestly and transparently you're handling the frictions, because friction in partnerships is very very normal, but when you avoid it and you're not handling it properly, that is what is going to make your entire alliance fall apart. So a lot of times ego kills alliances, right, more than the competition. And I have learned this while being in this space for so long. And partnerships usually fall when, when one side wants the visibility and the other side ends up doing the hard work and the labor. So when both the sides are working together, right, operating in reality, managing things like, equally, that is when the best partnerships come. So alliances are primarily dependent on trust, and but trust built on structure, right? Because goodwill is great for partnerships and everything, but the entire process, that entire structure has to be built on equal shoulders. So yeah, so I feel the real secret to strategic alliances is simple. That is just don't align ambitions, align expectations, incentives, accountability, ownership, and
Yeah.
even the credit. Yeah.
Where it all starts, that's where it all ends.
Hence, yeah.
Yeah. Manmeet, this has been very insightful and incredibly real. And it's clear that building a brand today is no longer a linear experience. It's more about trust. And if there's one piece of advice that you would want people to give is that be real, and then make sure there's a proper communication.
True.
So for everyone listening, brand is no longer defined by what you say in your campaigns. It's about, or it's shaped by what people experience, observe, and share, especially in moments that are unscripted. And it shows up that systems, or when systems fail, when AI behaves unpredictably, and when organizations are still finding the right way, or right words to respond. In many ways, those moments define credibility more than any planned narrative ever could. And if this episode made you pause, reflect, or even rethink that how your organization communicates and show up, consider sharing it with someone in the leadership, marketing, or technology. And don't forget that to follow Manmeet Randhawa. She's amazing. Shares amazing stories.
Thank you so much, Vandana. I hope I am able to add a little bit of value to your podcast, right? And wishing you the best. I hope you get better people next time. Yeah.
We'll talk offline around it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today here. And it was wonderful conversation. Thank you.